This is What Started Your Fire, where we explore the stories and insights, tactics, and best practices of first responders and emergency support personnel. Get inspired, get informed, get involved. Let's roll.
Welcome back to What Started Your Fire. I'm Chad Darr. I'm joined today by Dan Brooks. Dan, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chad. How you doing?
Doing very well. Dan, to begin our conversation today, maybe you could share with me a little bit about what your decision process was, or what brought you into the service.
Yeah, so I actually started with a group of my friends back in 1989, 1990. Friends from high school. We decided to join. There was a new Explorer post being created at our local fire department, which is the Cortlandville Fire Department, just outside of the city of Cortland, New York. And so we joined, and it was great because we joined as a group together, and we stuck together. And I've moved away from there, but we've still remained friends to this day. And most, I think, just about everybody is still in the fire service. So that was, I took some time off between, when life gets in the way, which normally does. And then I just recently returned again here on now that I live on Long Island.
Very good. Very good. Do you have any family history? You had said that you had this group of friends that started around the same time. Any family history, either siblings or parents or maybe children that have also followed? No,
actually, I probably in the minority in that, because as most people know, the fire service is relatively legacy based. My father was never in the fire service. My uncle was in the fire service in a small volunteer department just outside of Geneva, New York, in the Finger Lakes area. But that was the only. And then growing up, he was gone from then. He wasn't really active at that time. So no, not really. It was kind of something that I wanted to do. Being with I wanted to do it with my friends. And then, it started out with wanting to do it with friends, and then turned into something that stuck with me for the rest of my life so far.
Sure. Over the 30 plus years that you've been doing this, have you seen a lot of kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis remain the same, or have you seen a lot of changes over your time?
Yeah, the changes have been amazing. Being out of it for about 10 years and then coming back into it, just in those 10 years, the concept of washing your gear, the truck shouldn't smell like a house fire after a house fire. The cancer awareness now, that is probably the biggest thing that has changed is the safety aspect of the fire service, which obviously is a good thing, right? So that in and of itself, the technology that's out there, when you go to a call now, you take a thermal imaging camera was something that you didn't even think of 30 years ago, and now it's basic material that you go into. So just the safety aspect of it, even on the fire prevention side, the joke most people say is we don't have fires anymore, and hey, that's a great thing, right? Motor vehicle accidents, even though they're much more serious these days, really with the concept of safer cars and so forth, that's changed. So what was relevant 30 years ago, other than Beyond the Foundation, really has changed. It's almost like a different fire service, totally.
Sure. When you think back over your experience, what are some of the skills outside of the physical aspect of firefighting and rescue and those types of things, right? But are there other types of skills that you've picked up along the way?
Oh yeah, Chad, let me tell you, one of the stories that I was featured in FASD's magazine recently about returning to the fire service, and one of the things that I credit the fire department for, especially growing up, was how it changed me as a person. When I was a kid in high school, I just thought, everything was my way, and that was the highway, and that was it, and didn't really care about interacting with people in a way that might have affected me down the road, many years later. That has stuck with me. That life lesson has extremely stuck with me. So the lessons that I gained back as an explorer and a junior firefighter, interacting with my peers in the firehouse, has really made me a different person today, just because of those interactions. So those life lessons, beyond the fire service, having really nothing to do with the fire service, those life lessons have really stuck with me and made a profound impact on my life.
Excellent. Thank you. When I would imagine that you get asked a lot from people who are interested in joining, maybe in high school, maybe out of high school. Any recommendations that you would traditionally give them about what they could expect or what they should do if they're interested?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, when I took Essentials of Firefighting back in '92, I think it was, I think it was around 39 hours. Now you're over 100 hours of Firefighter One training, and obviously it's good because there's a lot more to do these days, even with that new technology and so forth. But the biggest thing is getting over that first initial, for somebody that doesn't have any experience, to get over that initial hump of the 100+ hours to get into the Firefighter One. Just stick with it, and the benefits far outweigh the temporary setbacks with timing and so forth. So that's probably one of the most important things. And my biggest thing I tell people is, if you're going to join for the right reasons and go in 100%. Obviously life gets in the way. It got in the way for me. I had to step back for a while, but I came back. And I came back as a different firefighter, driver, and so forth. So I think that's really important, is to do it the right way. Make sure you have the time before you commit. Don't commit unless you really know that you can make it, and really go all in. Show up for as many things as you can, because that's the greatest way to learn the fire service and learn each individual department, whether it's fire, EMS, learn their protocols, how they do things, learn your community, and so forth. So that's my advice.
Fantastic. Looking back, how long into your service did it take until you started to, calls didn't begin with your heart really pumping and racing, and it was still that way for the next 20 minutes? How long until things started to settle down and you were able to kind of step back and your peripheral vision was much more prevalent than maybe at the beginning?
I think credited to the time in the Explorers and the Junior Firefighters program really kind of took that was the consumption of the time of your heart beating. Oh my gosh, I've got to go to a call. Oh my gosh, look what I see, what's in front of me, and so forth. Those I'd say 2 years, I can credit that to the time. So really, when I came off of the Explorer and the Junior program and became, an actual member of the department, I'd kind of seen a lot by then. Now, definitely not all, but I've seen quite a bit at the time. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't as exciting. I didn't get as excited. But I'll tell you, after taking, 10 years off and then coming back into the service after 10 years away, I've been in now for a little over a year, and I am not over that yet. Every time the pager goes off for a particular call, I have to admit, the heart races a little bit, and you have to sit back and think about it. So it's kind of going all over again.
Yeah. I did a little bit of work in a volunteer EMS unit, ambulance unit many years ago. And one of the things that I had noticed was kind of in that situation where, because of all the training and because of your experience, like once you're in the situation, like your memory just kind of takes over, and you know what to do, and you became very familiar with it. Did you have the same experience coming back, where it was kind of like riding your bike again? It felt very natural, or was there a learning curve that was involved again the second time around?
No, I to be honest, Chad, a lot of the calls that I went on, coming back into it after being away, it was natural. It was second nature for the most part. There were obviously things that have changed, even with different departments, different communities and so forth. So, but a lot of it, I didn't even have to think about. I grabbed the irons and went in, and nowadays a little bit different. I have to remember to grab the portable radio, grab the imaging camera, and in the carbon monoxide detector and so forth. So those are some of the things that I have to retrain myself on. But now, for the most part, everything just kind of for the foundational stuff, most things just came right back. Sure.
Of the calls that you go on now, do you have a percentage of those calls that are more routine? So there's a smoke smell or a gas smell versus kind of a true house fire or a motor vehicle accident?
Yeah, the majority of our calls in the department that I'm in, we have a separate ambulance company, so we're just the fire department, which is actually a new concept for me. So the majority of the calls are basically routine. I mean, we've definitely had our few house fires over the last year and a half, but yeah, most of the calls are relatively routine. Detector activations, faulty detectors, and so forth. So I would say the vast majority of them are routine, but that's one thing that's important to know and to think about is, 2:00 in the morning when you have an automatic alarm, it's someplace that you've really never been to before, and maybe not even that time of the day. There was a call when I was in the Explorer post back in Cortlandville, where that happened, and we were all just assuming, oh, it's another automatic alarm. Well, it wasn't. This relatively large building was on fire, so that always sits in the back of my mind. And even though those routine calls are the majority of the time, mm-hmm. that one call will always remind me that it's all it takes is that one call.
Yep, absolutely. Do you have, I would imagine, just like that example, a number of other calls that kind of made you pivot on how you approached your duties on a day-to-day basis, or even like taking home life lessons? Like I would imagine a number of calls that kind of stick out in your memory as good learning opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, some of them, there was a couple of ambulance calls that I had been on where we had collectively did some things. Splint. I remember one. A child put his hand through a plate glass window, actually, and one of the medics had splinted the hand and kept it in a certain way. And when we got to the hospital, the doctor said, "I don't know what possessed you guys to do this, but you just saved the child's hand because of how bad it was inside the hand. Could have created a lot more damage if the child had moved his hand more." So that one always kind of sticks with me because the doctor actually came out and told us, good work. A lot of calls that I've been on where, you just collectively, the interactions with the patients, interactions with the homeowner and so forth. I can't think of any specific examples, but there are definitely times when you sit back and you realize a call that you had in the past kind of pops up into the back of your mind, mm-hmm. and you kind of remember, oh, I remember, this conversation with this patient and so forth, and you kind of use that in a scenario that you may be in currently.
Sure. And as you look forward, do you have certain goals that you're looking towards for your service in the future, as far as maybe different ranks, different responsibilities? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, for me, I've become much more active on the training side. Working with FASNY, the Firemen's Association of the State of New York, and the Suffolk County Volunteer Firemen's Association to provide better programs and resources to volunteer firefighters and EMS people. To provide them with like I say, more training opportunities, more seminars. To spend more time on the soft skills side of the fire and EMS industry. Training and one of the biggest things that we really need to spend more time on when it comes to recruitment and retention, I believe, is the golden egg, in my opinion, is the junior program, is the Explorer program. That I think will sustain us, or at least keep us sort of above water going forward to bring that volunteer fire service. I don't know if it'll ever be back to what it ever was, but at least to maintain it. So that's where I really like to spend my time is recruitment and retention, specifically in the youth programs. And really, at the end of the day, we're a customer service driven organization, and that's kind of my I'm on the IT support career field. And I think it's very important for fire and EMS providers to understand that everybody's out there listening to you. Most everybody has a everybody has a camera these days, and you really got to be careful what you say when you're on a call and that type of thing. So and then obviously being a firefighter and a driver. But those are the things that I'd like to work on going forward.
Fantastic. Dan, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you leading me through your experiences and the lessons learned. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Chad, and thank you for doing this, because I think this is very important for the fire and EMS service.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. What Started Your Fire is a production of Ultra Bright Lightz, who invites you to visit us at ultrabrightlightz.com and explore our emergency lights and lighting technologies. Ultra Bright Lightz, spelled with a Z.com.